Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Me. Today we have a special guest. We have Michelle Tucker. We are going to have her introduce herself in a few minutes, but just wanted to give you a recap. So this season, as you all know, we're talking about transparency and vulnerability. And we know that when it comes to talking about those two things, that it is very difficult sometimes for us to put ourselves in a position where we can be transparent and vulnerable as we try to protect ourselves because we may not feel like it's a safe space to do so. And we may not understand or know individuals that allow us to be safe in those environments. So the whole point of this podcast is really for us to share awareness about, our different people's experiences when it comes to transparency and vulnerability, but also to provide a platform for those who are willing to share their experiences as well, so that the community doesn't have to suffer in silence. This was birthed out of a need to just talk, right? The Lord put it on my heart so that we could create a space where communities could heal. We could talk about different things that impact our community. And so this is one of those things, transparency and vulnerability. And we'll have some segments that are geared specifically towards men, because we know that women have their space for, they talk to their girlfriends, they're able to create those spaces. But for a man, it's hard, especially within society, when we talk about how the manly man is supposed to keep his emotions in check and all these other stigmas that rest on being transparent and vulnerable. So we'll get to those later on in the season. But for this episode, we are going to be talking about it is what it is. And I'm excited to dive into it here with Michelle. But before we do, I'm going to kick it over to Michelle so that she can introduce herself, tell a little bit about herself, and then we'll kick off the conversation. So welcome, Michelle.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Michelle Tucker, and I am present today.
Well, thank you for being present. All right. So let's, when we talk about transparency and vulnerability, right? So when was the first moment that you felt, okay, I need to really think about what transparency means, or I need to, figure out what that means for me? Did you have a moment, or was it kind of like gradually over time?
It was over time. It was over time.
All right. So how did that play out for you? Was it just in conversations, different, relationships, maybe different friendships with the family? How did it kind of play out?
It actually started with friends. It was in college. It was at a time when I was really to myself. I didn't really communicate with others well at all. And then when I met 3 very, very good close friends in college, and they actually got me to, I guess I always wanted someone to talk to. And so whenever things would pop up, I would normally just ignore the conversation or just leave it be and whatnot. And they'd always push and say, no, why do you think that? How did you get there? What do you feel? And I'd be like, why are we here? Let's watch a movie. Let's I don't know, let's do anything else. Maybe something I don't want to do. Let's do that instead. And they would not let up. And I'm very grateful for that.
So how did it feel though? I mean, I know it must have felt uncomfortable maybe the first time where you're, like you said, they're poking and prodding and asking the next question down, and you're just like, listen, can we just stay at the top? Why do we need to go any deeper? But how did it feel as you were answering their questions?
I guess it was more like stuff coming to realization. I was really good at just not dealing with stuff. And so it was nice to have listening ears to be able to guide me through my thoughts and through my experiences or through my memories. It was nice to have someone that was actually on my side, that actually wanted to be there, that wanted to be present, someone, or them, that actually wanted to contribute, that wanted to be present, that always just they wouldn't let, I want to say no for nothing. But they were making sure, like, no, we're going to get better mentally, physically, and emotionally together. And everyone took their own part in their journey for themselves. And they want to make sure that I was being brought through as well.
So so I'm assuming that they were vulnerable with you.
Oh, yeah.
So like, did you listen and feel like it could come to your tots when, or is it more so like I'm gonna ride this until they?
No, it was everyone was sharing, so it was easier for me. It made me feel safe and comfortable to be able to speak with them, but I didn't feel that way with anyone else. So it was a very, very safe environment, and it was always everyone's turn. Someone would always start, everyone would switch around and whatnot, and it just whenever someone had something to say, they would just jump in, and it made me want to be like, okay, I got something to share too.
So then we can really go back to kind of what I've been sharing at each episode is it took a level of vulnerability from the external side of things, from the other people to make you feel like, well, maybe I can be a little open. I can, share some of my vulnerability.
Yes, because usually it's people that want to know your business, but they don't want to share their own.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to keep talking to people that just want to just hear me and then not want to contribute. Because then I'm just like, okay, you're basically storing this up for what cause?
Wow, let's talk about it. So now you open the doors. All right, so if we're thinking about that from a storing up, what does it take for you to engage with someone, right, and determine whether this is hey, I'm storing this for a rainy day type of scenario, or hey, I actually really feel like that person cares and they're genuine about wanting to support and just listen to what I have to say.
They have to match my energy.
Okay.
They do.
Just
because otherwise, like, if something's more like, people can be calm, everyone's different,
right?
But for me to feel comfortable, I have to be like, oh, okay, well, they'll be okay with how I am and how happy, cheery, energetic, and whatever it is that I am, to be able to accept me, for me to be able to speak. Otherwise, if they're like real quiet and to themselves, and it's just kind of offsets how I am, then I'm probably not going to speak.
So so what are you? Are you an extrovert or what are you?
I don't know. I know this. Okay, so I like being around people, so I guess so. But at the same time, it's not often where I feel like my battery is drained, where I just want to be at home by myself, watching movies, just chilling. I do like to be around other people.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So then you're more extrovert than you are introvert.
Yes. It just all depends on my mood.
It depends.
For that during the damn moment.
So you're in the moment. You flip that switch.
Yes.
This is what I'm feeling. Hey, this is what I'm not feeling.
Yes. And usually it's high beat energetic.
Right. Okay. So then that goes back to our title. It is what it is, right? So we think about it from that perspective. How you feel in the moment is what it is.
Basically, it.
Give off. Right?
Yes.
All right. So now let's go back to the transparency piece of this. So now we talked about the transparency when it came to friends.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came to, say, I guess, new friendships, or maybe friendships in the church, was there a difference in how you approached friendships in the church versus the friends that you met in school? Because I'm assuming they're different, right? Were they different? Okay, they're different. All right. So tell me what the difference is in how you approach that.
The difference is, well, for starters, in church, you kind of have to not, of course, always be yourself.
Right.
Always. Some stuff, if you're learning to do better at, you shouldn't do it in church. Certain type of music you listen to, you in church. So it just, that also depends on, honestly, still for me, it's the same thing. It's just how I vibe with you. If I feel like I meet you and I feel like your energy's like mine, it's great. I feel like if I need a little more time to get to know you, cool. I feel like at that very moment I meet you, whether if it's at church or school, personal life, work, whatever, it just all depends. Because I'm pretty good at catching up on vibes for people who are genuine and then who may not. And if you're usually up front, like you don't give a care attitude,
right?
It's not for me. I know people that work hard. I truly enjoy being around people who are very hardworking. But the very moment I see laziness, I don't even want to know you personally.
Mercy. Oh, wow! That switched like fast.
Because I feel like if you don't care in something that you should or you're supposed to, or you
right.
you're here for others or you're working for others or whatnot, like, then it shows that you may have that same lack of care in your personal life for others. And when you go out or, people are hanging out with friends, you don't know who you can and cannot be safe with. You leave with somebody, you don't come back with somebody, they leave. Like, that stuff matters to me. If you don't really care about me at work,
Yeah.
or just making sure that everyone's on the same page and we're reaching the same goal, then in your personal life, you're really going to be just caring about yourself still. And I need to make sure that whoever it is I'm surrounded by, whether if I'm at work or in my personal life, that they're still caring for my well-being.
So words don't matter. It's the actions you're looking.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense because anyone can say something,
Mm-hmm.
but their actions may contradict heavily
Yes.
what they're saying.
Yeah.
All right. So let's touch on transparency. Don't kill me, and relationships.
Okay.
So, so we talk about transparency in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that it's easy for you to be transparent? Does that fall into the it is what it is category? Or do you feel like it is more difficult to be transparent?
I think my problem with relationship was I am always too open and too honest, and I want to just be me. But there were times in relationships when that's not really a concern or a care. It's more like, okay, well, now I'm sharing too much of myself. This person doesn't care. And then it kind of just backfires against me.
Okay. So it's almost, would you say this then? Is it more so like you meet someone and because you meet that person, it's like, hey, I just want to, from day one, just give you everything. Like, I want to share. I want to talk. I don't want any boundaries in terms of, I don't feel like there are hidden pieces of me that I don't want to share. Like, you just want to be yourself.
I mean, I do feel like there's levels. I mean, you got to reach a certain point where you get comfortable enough with that person to be able to, okay, talk about this. Okay, the next step. Okay, now I can talk about that.
Okay.
But I just mean like whatever it is that I happen to say, because I'm extremely random. I really am. I feel comfortable enough to be that random that I would appreciate to be accepted. But I guess it just all depends. But I do feel like, yes, you should work your way up to certain things that you do discuss with somebody that you're trying to date. But I also feel if you're trying to date me, then whatever it is or wherever I am in that moment, I would want to be appreciated.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. All right. So then. All right. So then we talk about transparency in that regard. How do you treat, or I'm going to throw a scenario. So I want to get your thoughts on it. So how would you treat an individual who has suffered or is suffering, with PTSD on past relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
So their level of transparency and vulnerability is at an all-time low because they're still scarred from what had happened to the past by that trauma. How would you approach someone like that? So say you met that person and there's interest. You don't know it at the time, but when you talk to them, is the more you're just like, I'm picking up this vibe of there's some deep hidden or some deep-seated trauma that may need to be addressed. How do you approach that?
I wouldn't know, honestly. Because I feel like if they've gone through something and I don't really know what it is or how it affected them, I kind of want to just make sure that they know that I'm there for them.
Okay.
But because I also like to talk, it's probably certain topics I don't know if I can or cannot discuss here, but I would want that individual to feel comfortable around me.
Okay.
And so with that, I guess I'm going to say test the waters in certain stuff though, but I will see what things I can and cannot ask and then see if there are boundaries. And if there aren't boundaries, that's when I feel like I would probably be the one to like open up and share and whatnot so that they could see, okay, well, you're going through some stuff. Not saying that I would be comparing myself to them at all, but just saying like, it's okay to be open. You probably do need to get these things out. And if you're keeping them to yourself, or you may not know what you can and cannot share, but I would want that person to know that I feel like I'm a safe space and that I would be peace. And if they're looking for that,
right,
that's probably something they may want to be mindful of. But at the same time, I'm not going to be distant, but I am going to be trying to figure out where they are in their journey first, so I can kind of decipher how it is that I could approach them. That makes sense?
Yeah, no, it does. In essence, what you're saying is you are the first one to typically share a vulnerable interaction in kind of investing in that individual to let them know, hey, it's okay to be vulnerable in this, to be vulnerable back in this space.
If I feel that there's something they're struggling with, yes.
All right. No, that makes sense.
Because if they're easy to talk to, then okay, it won't be an issue. But if I feel like they're holding back, I'm like, okay, maybe they need me to start first.
So that's an interesting approach, right? So I was sharing in the last episode with Jasmine that, you know, sometimes I test, you know, like I need to know if I can trust, right? So there's like some sharing of surface things so that it's almost like a test to see, all right, so how do I feel? How was this received? Was it rejected? Or, you know, all of those things. But that's my process for knowing, am I going to be able to use this individual? Not use them, but is this individual is going to be, you know, a close individual and going to be more of a distant friendship or acquaintance or whatever it may be, right? So when it comes to identifying that, is it something that you pick up fast, fairly quickly in having a conversation with an individual? Or do you feel like there are multiple interactions that kind of lead to the discovery of this?
I think I would not know the difference, honestly, based off of my own past relationships. I feel like what I think I would know may not be. And then I may think, okay, well, because I'm a girl, so I'm going to think girly things. But I may think there's something there, and it's just, I might go forward with something and realize it wasn't, be like, oh crap, I messed that up probably. I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't know the difference.
Okay. I mean, that's honest. And I think it's something that we all struggle with because there, you know, to be honest, for me, it's the only way that I feel that it's okay to, you know, now I'm more of an open book because I feel like there are more experiences that I will share because I just never know who can benefit or take something from it. Maybe it's a, hey, don't do what he type of deal. Or it's, I never really thought about that scenario, but here's an option of how I could handle it based on what I'm hearing. So you just never know what your experience will share. So that's why I'm open in terms of sharing like what my experiences are and things like that. But I do test to figure out the depth of it because I'm an open book when it comes to certain things, but if I feel like the individual is more so probing for something, but not really wanting to have that genuine conversation where it's, hey, I'm genuinely interested in how you're doing this or how you're going through it and how you're dealing with it so that I can figure out how to deal with my situation, or I can figure out if there's, you know, something that I'm not looking at from a different perspective. How do you decipher that, right? When you're having conversation, not even in a relationship, but just friends. Like, how do you pick up, okay, this is the level that I can get to with this individual? Because I feel like we have conversation at a depth. How do you come to that conclusion?
You're saying, how do I come to the conclusion if that person is being genuine or looking for, okay. I want to say, I guess just off experience. Like I will say in the past, what's it been, 3.5 years, something like that. I will say based off of relatives, friends, or relationship and whatnot, I picked up on game now. So I can see, depending on certain stuff, whether our conversation starts or how interest may begin or something like that. I kind of can just tell. I don't know if I can describe that.
I mean, that's it. I mean, if you can tell, that means you're taking in information, and then based on how you feel, then you'll make a judgment call and say, all right, I feel like I can be more vulnerable with this individual or not.
Basically.
All right. I mean, that's fair. That's fair, right? So when it comes to levels of transparency, or it is what it is, let's talk about it is what it is, right? What gets you to that point of it is what it is? What is that? Is that a level of transparency because you're invested? Or is it a level of transparency because there's not a care?
So honestly,
Mhm.
me being at a point where it is what it is, it's a combination of many things.
Hit me with it.
Okay, so I had an ex who was verbally and mentally abusive, basically, and neglectful and could care less about my mental status or my physical health. And I endured that for whatever reason. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to stick this through. I was sadly desperate to be married
That's
and wanting my own family. So where it caused me to be in a situation that was not at all healthy, and then coming to find out that he came with much more baggage that I was aware of, that I was putting myself in a situation to where I wasn't really loving myself, and I wasn't able to be myself.
okay.
And I was allowing him to be able to determine what it was that I could not do, and who it was that I could not speak with, or who I hung around, or what I wore, or I don't know. It was a lot. And then I just felt like over time, I was just like, I'd never been in a situation where I could be me fully. And then I realized it wasn't just with him, it was probably with other types of the guys that I've tried to date, whatever, in the past as well. And I find myself that I would always kind of filter myself in a sense to where I'm like, oh, okay, this guy's showing interest. He must like me. What do I need to do, or what shouldn't I do so that way they stick around? And so then when me and my ex broke up, it made me realize I took that downtime in a sense, well, one, because I also needed surgery. And so while I was recovering from surgery, it was a good time for me to want to recover mentally and physically and emotionally as well. And during that time frame, I don't know, however it happened, it was just God started helping me pull back certain stuff, and then was able to allow me to be able to be myself. And then I just got to the point where I was just, okay, depending on who I'm surrounded with, who's actually accepting me and who's not. And then being able to see that helped me to show like, oh, okay, well, then it seems like if there are people who can accept me, whether it's at work or church, or it's just good choice there. We'll get there. We'll get there. Church, family, it didn't matter. It just put me in a place where I was just like, I'm tired of trying to be someone that I'm not, but trying to put myself in a situation to where I want others to like me because I feel I'm likable. But
Yeah.
I feel like I'm too happy of a person to not be able to be happy. I don't understand that part. I don't understand why people have an issue with my happiness, or why I'm so energetic and just, I'm not going to let certain stuff bother me or take me down or tear me down or anything like that. Like if I'm having a bad time, I have a bad time. Like when I had like issues with fibroids and whatnot, like it just was with, it was just being able to see like, okay, I'm in this state to where I'm not well. The guy that I would make a care less. And then now I have to recover from both of these things at the same time, while also still trying to work, which I'm not physically capable of doing right now because I'm in and out of the hospital. And then being able to also care and provide for myself. And then when I felt like I couldn't rely on others or to count on others, I really just turned to God. Like it just, I don't know at what point it got there. It was just like, oh, okay, but Jesus, I want to better myself through you, Lord. How do I do that? And then he pulled back on the alcohol, and he pulled back on, then I became celibate. And then he pulled back on, well, we're still working on the cursing. But we're working on that. It's not as bad. But I don't know, just stuff started what I thought was going to be difficult. Oh, and then caffeine, which I love so.
Mercy. Way that juice, but it doesn't matter. Because I say, have mercy.
But I realized there are certain sodas that don't have caffeine in them, like I have to. So, I don't know, just stuff started being pulled back, and then I was actually able to see clearly. And then I was making sure I was spending more time with God, and I was making sure that I was devoting time for prayer and devotion. And now I just want to make sure, I feel like God is trying to always tell me to put him first in all things. Instead of me like, oh, okay, I could just dive into it. It'll just work out. Like, no. And that's how I kept finding myself in these situations or these problems or in these I can guarantee you now, I'm not desperate to be married again. I still crave it. I still want it. Yes. But I'm not going to allow myself or allow anyone else to be in my presence that does not deserve to be there, that should not be there, and that's not actually trying to be there or showing. I'm tired of words.
Right.
I really am.
Hence, it is what it is, right? Mercy.
So I got to that point. I was like, you know what? I'm me. It is what it is. And it's just, if you choose to accept me, cool. And if you choose not to, I mean, every now and then I'm like, dang, could it really be that big of an issue? Do people rather walk around bitter and sad and unhappy? Like, life's not perfect. I'm not perfect.
Right.
And I'm tired of being put on a pedestal. Just because I'm smiling around like, oh, she's got that great life. I don't know what you're talking about. I just happen to live in this moment. I remember just taking everything day by day, like at work, when I'm with my clients. I make sure, even when I still to them and they're like, oh, it's a lot. Well, honestly, probation is a lot. But but I try to let them know, if you go about this in the mind frame to where you're literally, yes, organization may be a lot more work than you're used to doing. But if you can set yourself forward and to actually look into the things, okay, this is what I have on this day, this is what I have on that, you can do it. Everything's not going to be done in one time. And I have to remember, when my days when I'm getting stuff done, it can't be all done in one day. There's not enough hours. They're just on.
So then when you got to this point of it is what it is, it sounds like it was kind of a conglomeration.
It was a lot of everything hit at once. Everything that was a problem within my childhood, my adulthood, and it kind of just combined. And yeah, 2020 is, I'm gonna say, the worst year I probably ever had. Everything literally happened in that year, and I needed to make it out of that.
What? And you said what year?
2021.
2021.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Mercy. So then, well, we're not going to dive too much into it because we want to preserve this. But I do want to ask this: when you learned about transparency in your situation with relationship, right? What was the moment for you where you were like, you know what? I can be transparent with myself and admit this is not for me. Not where I needed to be. Why have I done this, or why have I taken this? I'm done. Like, how did you get to that moment?
I didn't.
Oh, tell me.
Jesus actually,
Said Jesus did it?
Jesus did that. He literally pulled that man out of my life. Literally.
Okay.
Literally. I don't know if we have a time for that. But yeah, literally, he pulled that man out of my life.
Give us.
Okay. Okay, so I found out, when I found out, it was, I guess it's a summary, really. So the man that I was dating at the time and was living with, which also I've learned not to live with no one else unless I'm married, because that was completely not at all what God had. And I feel like that's a lesson for me. Like, don't try it again. Because if there was any other guy could have figured it out. I mean, it was, oh my gosh. So anyways, I found out when he was arrested, and the officer told me it was for 10 warrants. And they were all sexual charges.
Oh,
the majority of them. And aggravated sexual charges at that. So it wasn't me at all. I found out he was actually going to propose to me. And the sad part about it was he thought that was going to get me to stay. So he attempted to propose to me from the jail while we were on the phone. And I was like, this is not happening.
Wait a minute. I got to back up a little bit. Did you just say to me that he tried to propose to you from the jail?
Yes.
From the, like, you didn't know about his history. And he gets arrested.
Yeah.
And then he's like, yo, let me just propose to you because this may keep.
So he told me a different story. What he told me was something about his child's mother was just retaliating because he was trying to put himself on child support. And the lawyer called and said, hey, case is closed. The mother doesn't want child support. I was like, that's weird. Who doesn't want child support? But okay. And then all of a sudden, a week later, all these warrants came out. So he was just like, no, she probably got a couple of friends to come after me. And I was like, oh, they seemed like they had a really toxic relationship. So I bought it. I did. until I read all the charges online as to what they were, and I was just like, dude, it was crazy. Like, okay, fine, honestly. They included rape, aggravated sodomy,
What?
sexual assault, sexual battery, sodomy. One of them was like aggravated robbery.
Wow.
It was random. It was another sexual one too. Can't think of it. But yes.
So, wow. That's first of all, that's a revelation.
And he hid that for years. Almost that for years. He never said not one word about it. And I knew something was wrong because he always lashed out. He always accused me of doing something. He always blamed me for something. If I didn't answer my phone because I'm working, it was always an issue. It's always my fault. And if it wasn't my fault, he found something to be about, like, it was my fault. Why do you dress like that? Why do you do that? Why are you this, whatever. Like, if it wasn't negatively against me, it had to be about him. So I never had time to think about what was going on for myself. To even acknowledge I shouldn't even be here. Like, I'm thinking it, but I don't have enough time to actually consider me needing to leave.
So in essence, you spent more time on defense
Yes.
than you could even to think from an offensive standpoint to say, why am I here?
Yes.
Because you were always defending yourself as to what's coming at you, accusations, all of these things.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And I remember, I think in the very beginning when he was arrested, he was in the jail, of course, and he was just like, you sound so much, you don't seem bothered at all that I'm gone. And I was just like, honestly, I feel like a weight's been lifted off my shoulder. Like, don't get me wrong, I want you back, which at the time I was dumb as can be because I didn't really know what was going on then.
Oh, but what? You didn't have all that information.
No, it's like, wait a minute, what up? Why over here? Like, I need surgery, I need some and then you supposed to be here. Why are you over there? Whatever. Your baby mom is childish. Like, what's going on here? And then the answer level later.
Oh, okay.
And then, I was just like, yeah, but honestly, like, I feel like with you being gone, I can breathe. And it was a little kind of not hard for me to say to him, but I was just like, well, honestly, we got to get you out, of course, somehow, though. But now I'm over here trying to figure out, why do I feel happy?
Mercy.
Because I'm thinking I'm with somebody that I felt was supposed to be for me.
Yeah.
But I always knew it wasn't the case. I just kept trying to make sure that it worked out. I wanted to make sure it wasn't my fault why it didn't work out. Because it was always my fault why he was feeling whatever way it was he was feeling.
So then every conversation, so let's just say every disagreement, he found some way.
Oh, yeah.
Blaming you for something.
Oh, yes. I could have made the clearest of sense as to why it was not my fault, why it's on him. And he would still continue to spin it around and still make it my fault.
Wow.
And he would tell me what I could and could not do with it. He would turn around and go do it. And then say, oh, I'm being disrespectful to our relationship, but then he would go do it. Or tell me that, if I don't know, if he did something, whatever, and I'd be like, well, what if I did that? Then how would you feel? He was, oh, you're going to be tit for tat? Like, that's how you're going to play with the relationship? I'd be like, wait a minute.
So I see what you mean. So then everything was turned as a negative thing to you, but it still gave him the freedom to do it if he...
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yes.
I've been in that. Okay. That's not a nice feeling, is it?
It's not. Because now I'm just arguing about what it is that I am and I am not doing.
Right.
And I say, no, I'm not cheating.
Right.
I know I'm not over here looking for attention. I should be getting, like, I didn't even, while I was with him for whatever reason, I didn't even acknowledge any other guy that probably looked at me. And I didn't think about that until after we broke up. And I was just like, oh, there are other men. But I mean, like, I was so set on making sure that I wasn't the problem in our relationship that
Mercy.
I literally allowed him to still talk to me stupid.
Mercy.
And still, like, I don't know, he always had something to say. And then when he had one of his little moments to where he would just automatically snap and just be angry or whatever, never put his hands on me, but I think that was for a number of reasons. That whole relationship, I feel like was God's grace covering me.
Mercy.
I mean, God bless those who he did physically impact, yes. But I really feel like there was a part of me once where I never really wanted to ask him about his tattoos. And his whole back was covered in flames and they had skulls in them.
Mercy.
And I don't know what I think it was last year because we were together almost 3 years. And I finally was just like, what are those goals? Or what is your tattoo exactly? And he was just like, well, those are my demons. And I was like, okay, this is why we don't ask questions. And I didn't ask anything else. So at this point, I was already in this relationship. I was like, crap, that's already a huge problem.
Wow.
How do I go about this knowing that I already feel away? I don't feel like, in a sense, I don't feel that I was afraid of him, but I was afraid in a sense deep in the back of my mind that this one could actually hurt me, like really bad if it got to that point. And here I am trying to marry this person who isn't for me, but had that have gone through, everything would have literally changed because I was literally turning myself down and dimming my own light, thinking I'm helping him. And really, he's pulling me down. And he would get into these moments as to where he would, out of whatever reason, decide he could ignore me and wouldn't say nothing forever. It would depend on when he wanted to say something. And then if he did, then he would switch it up and he would think of the most god-awful, disrespect, inconsiderate.
Man, wow, there's a lot.
He would come up with the absolute worst things after dead silence to come at me with. Just to start an argument all over again because he knows I'm not going to let that go. So here I am thinking it's just calming down, whatever. He don't want to talk, whatever. We're moving on. And then he would just somehow that whole time he would just be thinking of the worst thing to say. Because like I was saying earlier, if I'm giving you this information about me,
right,
I expect to be able to trust you with it. Instead, you decide to use whatever it is that you can find about me to pull it back and then throw it at me.
Mercy.
And then twist it to make it seem like that's the reason I'm the cause for whatever it is that you're going through. He was really twisted mentally.
I'm not going to say that sounds a little PTSD-like for me, but what I would say is, no, man, that's a lot. We're going to have to do a second session because this is a lot that I really do want to unpack. Because when you talk about staying on the defense, right? Mm-hmm. When you're on when you feel like you're guilty before proven innocent, you're right. It does not give you the opportunity to even recognize how bad the situation is because you spend a lot of your time defending.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of your time thinking about, well, can this be perceived away? Can that be done? Is this, this, is that, well, I know how that's going to play out. I know, well,
yes,
I've seen this movie before. I don't want to go down that road.
Yes.
Like you spend the time, I was trying to play out every scenario.
Yes.
Because you know that no matter how good the moment could be in this moment,
in that brief moment, yeah,
in the brief moment, that something is still being triggered.
Yes.
And you're going to be in this position where you cannot, or you're scrambling to figure out, well, how did we get?
Exactly.
Man.
And it could be a random call he received from somebody else random, and I could just be right there. Like, it didn't matter.
So, in essence, the trauma of the other person had invaded your life and it altered how you were living, it altered you, period.
Yes.
Who you are, how you respond, how you react, how you live, what living means for you, and how you interact with people outside.
Yes.
Like, did you feel that your mind was consumed at all times by, man, how did we get here? What's going on here?
No, yes.
What could be coming next?
There were times I would literally just be right there and I'd be like, God, this can't be what you have for me. Like, how did we get here?
Mercy.
Knowing me, like, I just didn't understand. How could I tolerate something when I don't tolerate disrespect from anyone? And yet here I am trying to figure out, how deep am I really in this?
Yeah. So you mentioned, was there elements, I think you mentioned this, were there elements of insecurity on his part?
Yes.
So there were accusations of unfaithfulness or you looking at others or, things like that.
Oh, yes.
Man, I can identify. So how A, how did that make you feel? B, how did you even like live or not live with yourself, but how did you convince yourself that, okay, let me just get through this here and I know it'll get better?
I honestly feel like his insecurities came onto me because here I am trying to make sure that I do everything possible not to trigger you.
Mercy.
And then now here I am trying to make sure you don't find that trigger in me.
Mercy. Okay.
So it was just, I don't know, it did completely change how I was in that relationship. Now somehow I was still happy. I was. But that was also a problem. I'm too friendly. I'm too nice. It did kind of dim my life up. It did.
Mhm.
It did. It did actually. But it was just, I don't know. I just feel like some of the stuff he was going through was put onto me. And then it just got to the point where sometimes it was just like, well, dang, did I really?
Yeah. All right. So I want to tell you that because that's something that like I can identify,
Yeah.
right? Like it gets to the point where, sometimes you're just like, well, maybe did I do this and I don't realize it? Because you hear it so much,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And you're always on the defense that it's almost like you begin to question, like,
Well, I know it's not true, but I'm believing it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
The word, have mercy.
No, yes.
And that's where that level of control comes into play from the other person, the aggressor.
And manipulation.
Manipulation and control. Because it's like, I know that if I push my insecurities on you, that means that now you have to share that. And it's just not me. I can then start justifying myself feeling better because I'm projecting what's going on with me in you. So now I'm convincing myself in you that's the problem and not me.
Yes.
And so I've seen that play out and, personal experiences, but also I've had many conversations where that has been the same theme with others that have past trauma or insecurities. Well, all of that stems from some type of.
Yes. Yes.
So when it comes to the aftermath of that, right? And this is where I want to bring you back because I really want to dive into a lot of things that you said that, part of this because it resonates with me, but also I know several individuals who have gone through similar or who are going through similar that I think they can be helped by, kind of talking about the different emotions and how you felt with it. But when we're talking about aftermath, when that relationship was taken from, right?
Technically, yes.
Taken from you by force, right?
Yes.
Outside of your control.
Yes.
What was your, how did that shake your world and how did you begin the process of healing?
Well, I realized actually during one of our conversations while he was in the jail, literally everything he told me about himself was a lie.
Mercy.
When I tell you, I realized that we never had not one honest conversation about himself.
Mercy.
That it turned out he lied about every single detail, about every single thing. And I started to peep this earlier that last year we were together. But I was too sick to even get into it with him. And then it just showed me like, I've literally told this man everything about me. And now I'm finding out that he only said what he thought could be used to keep me.
Wow.
So to answer your question, it made me realize, it kind of made me not want to open up as much anymore to be myself. It made me want to just keep to me and go back to how I was. But instead, I will honestly say still God's grace, because here I was still trying to put myself in something I shouldn't have been in. And God instead was like, no, let me sit you down. I honestly think even though who wants fibroids, but I really do feel like I had that for a purpose. I don't think I went through it for 30 years just for him. I hope not. But it did keep me from getting pregnant with him.
Mm.
It did keep me from being able to fully dive into a family with somebody I shouldn't have been with.
Mm.
And then when time came for surgery the second time, I was able to actually take all the time I absolutely needed to think things through.
Mercy.
And it was the space that I had. And I was by myself. I was with my dad. But everybody had to go to work.
Right.
Somebody had to watch me. But I was able to actually run through every memory of every detail of every day, of every moment, of every sadness and anger and accusation and whatnot. And I had to put it on myself to be like, that's not me. I'm no longer in that. I can choose to do what I want for myself, and I can choose to be who I want to be for myself. And as I was telling God, you know what, I just want to be, please, I just want to better myself to you, Lord.
Yeah.
Show me that way. And I started focusing more on God, and it allowed me to literally be able, okay, you know what, screw it. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to keep being me, and I'm not going to let anybody else change that ever again.
Yes, that's right. I know that's right. Mercy. Well, this has been really good. I want to choose this moment to kind of wrap this up, but only because, let me tell you, you hit on so many points that I want to talk about, but we need more time to talk about it. So I want to do another episode where we kind of dive into that. Trust me, I've made notes. There are a lot of things that you said that I've experienced. And hearing someone who else has experienced it or who has experienced it, man, it makes a difference again, which is why this podcast exists for a reason. Because sometimes we feel like we're alone. Sometimes we feel like, you know, these situations are a little too crazy for people to really believe that it happened, or for, you know, to think that somebody else has gone through it, you know? But I mean, there's a lot that I want to say right now, but we're going to hold it. You know, for this episode, it is what it is, right?
Yes.
We'll have It Is What It Is Part 2. If you were to give the listeners at least a, you know, summation or some points that you wanted them to walk away with today, what would you share with them?
Never lose sight of yourself. Literally always be you. No matter who has what to say about yourself, trust and believe in you. Only you know yourself. And even if you have people that care and love for you, then they can point out the things in your life positively to help you to see what it is that you think that may not be there. And more importantly, just give to God, honestly. Always keep him first. Make sure you always keep your time set for God and God alone. Because I'm literally seeing now, that's what I needed. I needed that moment to go through that only Jesus knew that was going to really stop me and be like, I need you to focus. And just make sure that you don't let that time go. With God, you know.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, thank you again for being a part of this podcast. I'm looking forward to part 2 of It Is What It Is, so that we can pick up where we left off and dive into a few things. Like I said, it's crazy how, you know, some of my experiences mirror some of the things that you're talking about, especially around the areas of insecurity and how that impacts other people's lives. But, you know, for those out there, I just want to share again that the whole purpose of this podcast is really to just bring awareness to trauma and to bring awareness to different perspectives and different experiences that may speak to individuals who may be going through those type of experiences. Whether you have or whether you know someone who has, this is an opportunity to share it with them so that they can hear that they're not alone. Someone else has gone through it. Someone else is on the other side of it. Someone else is clawing themselves out. You just never know how your story could really impact someone else. And, you know, this season is a wild ride. We're going to dive into a lot of things that are uncomfortable. We're going to dive into some things that are really going to, you know, stretch you as an individual when it comes to really taking a look at potential trauma from childhood that may lead into who you are today and how that impacts relationships, friendships, community, all the way around, and how healing in itself comes through not just realization, but talking about it. Keeping it in is something that causes health concerns, health issues, and it's not good for your mental health as well. So if you or anyone that you know of have been a victim of any type of abuse, please reach out. Please reach out to your local authorities, reach out to hotlines. We want you to get help. We want to make sure that you have resources that can support what you're going through, but don't suffer in silence. It's a very serious thing that can alter the trajectory of your life and impact your family and your loved ones and those surrounding you. Once again, thank you so much for joining. I know this topic here was a little sensitive, but it's needed because we don't talk about these things, right? We don't talk about it in detail. We don't find individuals who are strong enough or courageous enough to even share their experiences so that someone else can benefit from knowing that they're not alone. So thank you again, Michelle, for coming on the show and kind of talking about that and not being afraid and, being transparent and vulnerable enough to share in this safe space. Thank you again for tuning in. Until the next episode, we'll be waiting for you. Like, subscribe, and share as well, because the more this audience grows, is the more people we can reach and the more people we can heal. Take care.